Today's lesson is solve the triangle. This means I'm going to be solving for both sides and angles in the same triangle. Okay, just as a quick review, whenever I have a solve the triangle, I know that I have 3 angles and 3 sides. So solve the triangle is expecting 3 answers. I'm going to give you 3 pieces of information, and you're going to solve for the other 3. All right, so let's start out. Let's talk about if I have a triangle here, and I have, I want to know, I know I have 3 total angles and 3 total sides. In this example, I have 1 angle given, which is the 90-degree angle, and then I have 2 sides given. So that means I'm trying to find 2 sides and 1 angle. Okay, can you do number 2? Fill in the chart. How much are we given and what are we finding? So I know I have 3 angles and 3 sides. This time I have 2 angles given and 1 side given. So in this scenario, I'm looking for 1 angle and 2 sides. So I am finding 3 answers. Okay. Just a review, across from my angles are my sides. Angles are capital letters, sides are lowercase letters. I use the acronym SOHCAHTOA to help me remember the definitions for sine, cosine, and tangent. I want to make sure my calculator is in degrees. And Triangle Sum Theorem, I know all 3 angles total 180 and my 2 acute angles are 90. So I'm going to use this to solve for angles. Pythagorean Theorem, I have my leg squared plus my leg squared equals my hypotenuse squared. So in order to apply this, I need 2 sides. So I'm only applying this to solve for sides. And trig, on the other hand, I can solve for angles or sides. So that's going to help me decide which equations I'm using. So these are the equations I'm going to be using. All right, so let's start out with number 3. Use the given information to calculate the unknown find values. Solve the triangle. I'm going to round each answer to the nearest 10th. So 10th is here. So I'm going to look at this space. If I am 0 through 4, I do nothing. Oops, can't see that. Do nothing. And if I am 5 through 9, I add 1 here. All right, so let's look at 3. It doesn't matter, I can solve this a whole bunch of different ways. There's not just one way to solve it. A lot of students will usually start out with whatever they have 2 of. So in this one, I have 2 sides. So let's label everything first. And it doesn't matter if I call C my reference angle or D my reference angle. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to just pick C as my reference angle. But I can't have E. as my reference angle. So I'm going to label my sides here. So my hypotenuse is 75, opposite here, and adjacent here. So right now I have two sides first, so I'm going to use the Pythagorean Theorem. So I am solving for a leg. So when I'm solving for a leg, I take the hypotenuse squared minus the other leg squared and take the square root of it. So I'm going to say from D to E, this is going to be 75 squared minus 21 squared. And then I'm going to take the square root, which is 72, rounding to tenths. So this was a whole number. And then to find angle C, I'm going to use these two sides here because those were given. I'm going to use adjacent and hypotenuse. So when I have adjacent and hypotenuse, so when I have adjacent and hypotenuse, I'm going to choose cosine. So I'm going to say the measure of angle C is the cosine inverse of adjacent 21 divided by hypotenuse 75. So I want to make sure I'm in degrees. So this is going to be 73.7 degrees. So this is angle C. And then to find my last angle, my measure of angle D, I know that my two acute angles total 90. So this is going to be 90 minus 73.7 degrees, which is 16.3 degrees. All right, let's try number 4. Again, I have two sides. I can pick either A or C as my reference angle. You know what? I'm going to skip this. I'm going to just do these two examples. I'm going to do one with two sides and one with two angles. Okay, so I'm going to use angle L as my reference angle since I've already been given this one. So my across from my 90 degrees is my hypotenuse, adjacent, and opposite. So I already have two angles, 90 degrees and 52 degrees. So I know angle N. So the measure of angle N is going to equal 90 minus 52 degrees, which is 38 degrees. So I got that one. And then I'm going to use 3 along with 52. So to solve for the adjacent side, I would be using adjacent and hypotenuse with my angle. So I would be using cosine, so CAH. So I'm going to say the cosine of 52 degrees equals the adjacent, which is L2M, divided by hypotenuse, which is 3. So to solve for L2M, I'm going to say L2M is going to be 3 times the cosine of 52 degrees. And rounding to tenths, I get L to M is 1.8. Okay, so to solve for M to N, I am going to use the opposite and the hypotenuse. So I'm going to use sine because I have opposite and hypotenuse. So I'm going to say sine of 52 degrees is M to N divided by 3. So M to N equals 3 times the sine of 52 degrees, which rounded to tenths is 2.4. Okay, and then we're always interested in how does this apply to word problems. Okay, a raked stage slants upward from back to front to give the audience a better view. Your school is building a raked stage. The stage will be 30 feet long from the back with a total rise of 2 feet. You want the rake, which is the angle of elevation, to be 5 degrees or less. For safety, is the raked stage within your desired range? Okay, so I want to find what my angle is, and I want to know if it's 5 degrees or less. Okay, so I'm going to start. This is going to be my reference angle. So this is my hypotenuse. 30 is hypotenuse, and 2 is opposite. So SOHCAHTOA. So the two sides involved are opposite and hypotenuse. So I know I want to use my sine. So the sine of x equals my opposite 2 over my hypotenuse 30. So sine, or x, equals sine inverse, because I'm solving for the angle, of 2 divided by 30. And rounding to tenths, I get 3.8 degrees. So I want it 5 degrees or less. So my answer is yes. My stage is raked to my desired length. Okay, that's it.